Welcome back to the Freelancers Tea Break, the short and sweet podcast you can enjoy whilst you're making a cuppa. This week, I wanted to talk about raising your rates because we're coming up to September, which actually is a really good time to think about doing that. And also, I want to remind you that everybody is increasing their rates because of cost of living at various different costs and things like that. And as a freelancer, you should not be absorbing all of that, all those increased rates. So your subscriptions and everything like that will all be going up at the moment. You need to raise your rates so that you are covering those costs. And I know sometimes that can feel really icky when you're handing that over to your clients, but that is kind of how economy works, that we all have to increase our rates in order to cover what we're doing. So I do, however, understand that for a lot of people, it can feel really icky to do that and that they're going to scare off their clients, or the clients are suddenly going to go, oh, no, I'm not working with you at all. So I wanted to share a few things to think about when you're raising your rates that might make it feel a little bit better or a little bit easier. So the first thing is that I tend to use natural checkpoints when it comes to thinking about when I'm going to raise my rates. So for some people, they like January, like starting the new year and being like, moving into this year, I'm going to be raising my rates. Some people like September, just because it kind of feels like a second 1st of January. I don't know why, but it has that new school feeling. So that's quite a good one. Other people do it by the financial tax year or things like that. But when you say kind of as we reach this point of the year where I review my my rates and things like that, that becomes something that becomes a bit more expected. So if you've had long-term clients, if you're doing it kind of the same time every year, it becomes expected. But also even just saying every year I review my rates and things like that, that can make it a bit easier. It really helps to give notice wherever possible with this. So rather than just saying, I'm going to be raising my rates in a week, that's not really okay. And it's not really very respectful of your clients. Whereas you can say from X date, and hopefully you're giving them several weeks, if not at least a month's notice, you can say my rates will be X, Y, and Z. Now, I know some people will do things as well, like they'll say from X date, my rates will be going up. However, if you pre-book and deposit for, say, 3 months' time, I can reserve the current rate for you. However, it then will be going up. So a lot of people will think about that and how they can give some kind of notice to their clients rather than immediately doing it, going up. Now, you might find a client will come back and say, I can't afford that, in which case, a reminder of like my mantra, don't discount your prices, discount what you offer. So if they can't afford the full package anymore, then you look at offering them a smaller package at the budget that they can afford. You also might want to remind them why, because when I say raising your rates because of the cost of living, actually that's just one of the reasons you might be raising your rates. More likely you're raising your rates because you've developed a lot more experience, you've taken on trainings, you've developed more skills, you're working with different kinds of clients. So there are lots of different reasons why. So you might want to remind them, during this time I've taken on this, this, and this, or I have increased my training in this area, or I've helped you with this. Anything that kind of gives them a reminder of the value without it being apologetic. And the final thing is you can test this with new clients first and then roll it out across the board and see how you feel with that. So if you don't feel like you can suddenly go to current clients and say, I'm upping my prices, you do want to eventually do it, but you could start with the new clients and then roll it out across the board. Now, in my Tricky Clients bundle, so I have a Tricky Clients Conversations bundle, and in there I've got some templates for how you can raise your rates and the conversation you can have without it feeling too icky. But this is a part of business, and hopefully I want you to feel a bit more comfortable about doing that, because you deserve to be paid for what you're worth and the skills that you're developing. And if you're in a job, you would expect to have an increase in salary every year or two based on your skill set. So there should be no different for freelancers. So I'll put the link in the notes for my Tricky Client Conversations bundle. There's so many different things in there, from chasing payment templates to how to deal with conflict, and all sorts of different things in there. So if you really struggle with those situations, I think you'll love that bundle. I would love to hear if you are planning on increasing your rates this year. If you're on Spotify, you can actually leave a comment. I don't know if you knew that. Otherwise, do come over and find me on Instagram. You'll find all the links in the notes, and I'd love to have a chat with you about that. I hope you have a wonderful freelance week.